Let me paint a picture for you. It's 2026. The K-pop industry has never been more crowded, more competitive, or more ruthless. New groups are debuting every single month. Veterans are scrambling to keep up. Trends shift overnight. One viral moment can make a career, and one quiet week can make you disappear from the cultural conversation entirely. Every label, every manager, every idol is in a constant, exhausting race to be seen, to be heard, to stay relevant. And then there's Jimin. ParkJimin, vocalist of BTS, doesn't seem to be racing at all. And somehow, he keeps ending up at the finish line first. In May 2026, the Korean Business Research Institute released its monthly brand reputation rankings for individual K-pop idols. The data analyzed big data from 1,730 idols. That's not a typo. 1,730 individual artists, measured across consumer participation, media coverage, interaction, and community awareness. The index is one of the most comprehensive measurements of public influence in the entire Korean entertainment industry. And when all that data was processed, when every metric was calculated and every number was crunched, one name sat at the very top of the list. ParkJimin, Brand Reputation Index, 8,298,417. Not second, not third, first, by a significant margin. To put that in perspective, IV's Jang Won-young, one of the most in-demand fourth-generation idols in the game right now, came in second with 7,186,672. Jungkook, Jimin's own BTS bandmate and one of the most globally recognized solo artists on the planet, came in third with 7,153,623. V ranked fourth. Park Ji-hoon rounded out the top five of the top 5 spots. BTS, the group that spent years building something the world had never seen before, holds that kind of gravitational pull even in 2026. But even within that elite company, Jimin stands apart. His number doesn't just lead the chart. It tells a story. Let's talk about what goes into a brand reputation index like this. It's not about who posted the most. It's not about who had the most comeback stages or variety show appearances. The Korean Business Research Institute measures something deeper, the quality and breadth of how a public figure lives in the cultural consciousness. Are people actively participating in conversations about this person? Are media outlets picking them up organically? Is there genuine two-way communication happening between the artist and the world? Is there a community being built around them that sustains itself even in the absence of constant content drops? For Jimin in May 2026, the answer to all of those questions was a resounding yes. The keyword analysis that came out of his data is fascinating. When millions of people were searching for, talking about, and engaging with Jimin during this period, the phrases that surfaced most were ARMY, black leather, and blonde hair. Think about what those words represent. ARMY isn't just a fandom name, it's a declaration of connection, of community, of belonging. When people bring up Jimin, the first word that comes to mind for many of them isn't his music, isn't his awards, isn't even his name. It's the community that surrounds him. That says something extraordinary about the kind of artist he is. He doesn't just have fans. He has people who define part of their identity through their relationship with his work. Black leather and blonde hair speak to something else entirely. His visual presence, his aesthetic impact, the way he commands attention in a physical space. These weren't keywords pulled from press releases or media articles. They came from real people, typing real words in real time. And what those people were saying collectively was, we cannot stop seeing him. We cannot stop talking about what he looks like, how he moves, what he wears. His long hair and his concert outfits have taken on a life of their own on social media. Not because some PR team engineered it, but because Jimin's physical presence is genuinely unforgettable. And then there are the related terms. The words that people associated with Jimin organically, without being prompted. Powerful, explosive, glamorous. 3 adjectives, each one doing a lot of work. Each one revealing a different layer of who ParkJimin is in 2026. Powerful. There's a reason this word keeps coming up. Jimin's performances, and we've seen this especially during the Arirang World Tour, carry a weight that isn't easy to define but is impossible to miss. Whether he's delivering a vocal line that strips a stadium down to silence or executing choreography that makes your breath catch, there's an authority to everything he does on stage. He doesn't ask for your attention. He commands it. Audiences don't just watch Jimin perform, they feel it in their chest, in a way that lingers long after the show ends. Explosive. This one captures the unpredictability, the energy, the sheer dynamism of what Jimin brings to a performance. You never quite know what you're going to get. And that's not a criticism, it's a compliment of the highest order. The best artists operate with an element of controlled chaos, a sense that something extraordinary is happening right now in this moment, and you're lucky enough to be witnessing it. Jimin's free dance segments during the North America leg of the Arirang tour had fans and commentators alike scrambling for words. Explosive was the one that kept appearing. Glamorous. This is the word that perhaps surprises people the least, but carries the most nuance. Glamour is not just about beauty or style, it's about projection, about the ability to transform a space through sheer presence. Jimin has always had an instinct for this. His fashion choices, his movement, the way he occupies a stage, it's theatrical in the best possible sense. He understands that a performance is a complete sensory experience, and he brings every element of himself to bear on creating something that feels elevated, intentional, and breathtaking. Powerful, explosive, glamorous. These are the words that 1,730 idols competed with in May 2026. And only one name walked away, with all three attached to it by millions of people who chose those words freely. But here's the part of the story that deserves the most attention: the positivity score. Jimin's positivity-negativity analysis came back at 93.02% positive reactions. 93%. In an era of social media where negativity spreads faster than anything else, where controversy is almost impossible to avoid at the scale of global stardom, where even the most beloved public figures regularly face waves of criticism, 93.02% is extraordinary. It is, by any reasonable measure, almost impossibly high. It suggests that the overwhelming majority of conversations about ParkJimin, across every platform and every demographic the Institute measured, were not just neutral or politely positive, they were actively, genuinely positive. People talking about Jimin weren't just mentioning him. They were celebrating him. Think about what that requires. It requires consistency. It requires the kind of authenticity that people recognize and respond to. It requires years of showing up, of being present, of doing the work even when nobody's watching, so that when everybody is watching, there's something real and something lasting to see. ParkJimin has been building that over many years. The 93.02% is not an accident. It is the accumulated weight of everything he has done, every choice he has made, every moment he has given to the people who follow his career. And we have to acknowledge the context. This isn't a solo brand. BTS members dominate the May 2026 rankings in a way that speaks to the enduring power of what they built together. Jungkook at 3rd, V at 4th, Jin at 8th, Suga at 9th, J-Hope at 10th, RM at 12th. 6 BTS members in the top 12. That's not a coincidence. That's a testament to the foundation they laid as a group, a foundation strong enough to support each of them individually as they pursue their own paths, take on their own projects, build their own legacies. But even within that remarkable collective, Jimin occupies a singular position. The gap between his score and the second-place finisher isn't just a number, it's a reflection of the specific, irreplaceable quality that makes him who he is. Something about ParkJimin resonates in a way that transcends category. He is beloved by people who have followed BTS from the beginning, and by people who only recently discovered his work. He crosses language barriers, cultural barriers, generational barriers. The data confirms what anyone who has spent time in the ARMY community already knows. Jimin is not just a popular idol. He is a phenomenon. Now, let's talk about what this actually means for 2026, because the brand reputation rankings don't exist in a vacuum. They are a snapshot of a cultural moment, and that moment tells us something important about where Jimin is and where he's headed. The Arirang World Tour has been one of the defining events of 2026 in the world of popular music. From the early North America dates to the sold-out Stanford Stadium shows in May, BTS has reminded the world, in the most visceral, immediate way possible, why they matter. And Jimin's contribution to those shows has been central to the conversation. The moments that have gone viral, the clips that have circulated millions of times across social media, the performances that fans and critics alike have singled out for praise, Jimin keeps showing up at the center of all of it. The black letter that appeared in the keyword analysis, that's not a coincidence. The outfits from the tour, the visual identity that Jimin brought to the North America leg, have taken on their own cultural life. People aren't just watching the performances and moving on. They're analyzing, they're celebrating, they're creating their own content in response. The long hair, the stage presence, the specific kind of beauty that Jimin embodies in this era of his career. It has captured the imagination of millions of people who couldn't stop talking about it throughout April and May. And the concert outfits going viral, this matters more than it might initially seem. When visual elements of an artist's performance become cultural reference points, when people who weren't even at the show are sharing and discussing what someone wore on stage, that's a sign of genuine cultural penetration. It's the difference between being popular and being iconic. Jimin, in 2026, is operating in iconic territory. There's something worth sitting with here. We are in a moment of extraordinary transition in K-pop. The fourth generation has fully arrived. The landscape is different from what it was 5 years ago, even 2 years ago. New acts are commanding attention, setting records, building enormous global fan bases. The industry is healthier and more competitive than it has ever been. And in this environment, you might expect artists from an earlier generation to see their numbers decline, to watch the new wave crest, and carry the conversation with it. Jimin is not declining. He's not holding steady. His brand reputation index of 8,298,417 in May 2026 represents continued dominance at a moment when dominance should be harder to maintain than ever. It represents an artist who has not coasted on past success, who has not relied on nostalgia alone to maintain his position, but who has continued to grow, to evolve, to find new ways to connect with audiences and give them something worth talking about. That is the story of ParkJimin in 2026. Not the story of someone fighting to stay relevant. Not the story of someone scrambling to keep up with a changing industry. The story of someone who, when 1,730 other artists were all competing for the same limited cultural bandwidth, simply continued to be himself, with all the power, explosiveness, and glamour that entails, and let the numbers speak for themselves. And yet, I think there's a question underneath all of this that deserves to be asked directly. Because it's the question that separates real understanding from surface-level admiration. The question isn't just, why is Jimin number one? The deeper question is, how does he keep doing it? How does an artist who debuted over a decade ago, who has already achieved every milestone the industry offers, who has sold out stadiums on multiple continents, who has topped charts in dozens of countries, how does that artist continue to grow his cultural footprint rather than coast on what he's built? How does the number go up instead of down? How does the public conversation around him become more positive, not less, as the years pass and the scrutiny intensifies? The answer, I think, lives in something that doesn't show up directly in any data set, but that the data keeps pointing toward again and again. Jimin does not perform for the metric. He performs for the moment. There is a version of celebrity management, very common, very understandable, where every decision is made with an eye on the number. Post at this time. Wear this. Say that. Appear here. Every move calculated to maximize engagement, to optimize the algorithm, to keep the index climbing. And that approach works, to a degree. You can maintain a solid brand reputation doing exactly that. But you cannot build what ParkJimin has built doing exactly that. Because people, real people, the ones generating all those data points, can feel the difference between an artist who is being managed and an artist who is being present. Jimin, at every stage of his career, has chosen presence. The moments that define him in the cultural memory are not moments that were engineered. They are moments where something true and unscripted broke through. The way he moves when the music takes him somewhere he didn't plan to go. The way he engages with an audience, not at them, but with them, like he's genuinely grateful they showed up and he wants to give them something worth staying for. The way his performances have a quality of sincerity that you can't manufacture, that no amount of choreography practice can fake, that either exists in an artist or it doesn't. It exists in Jimin. It has always existed in Jimin. And the world, quantified now in a brand reputation index of 8,298,417, in a positivity score of 93.02%. In keyword after keyword of celebration and awe, the world has noticed. What we are watching in 2026 is not a victory lap. It is not the tail end of a career sustained by goodwill and nostalgia. It is an artist in full command of his gifts, operating at the peak of his powers, in front of the largest and most engaged audience of his life. The Stanford Stadium shows didn't feel like a celebration of the past. They felt like a declaration about the present. Jimin on stage in May 2026 is not looking backward. He is moving forward, with the kind of momentum that only comes from years of genuine, uncompromising artistic work. The number on the chart will change next month. Rankings always do. But what the May 2026 data captures, this specific moment, this particular confluence of tour energy and cultural presence and audience love, that doesn't disappear. It becomes part of the record. It becomes part of how we understand who ParkJimin is and what he has built. 8,298,417. 93.02% positive. Number 1. The data is in. The verdict is clear. And if you've been paying attention, really paying attention, none of it is a surprise. If you're new here, and this is your introduction to everything happening with Jimin and BTS in 2026, welcome. You found the right place. We cover every development, every performance highlight, every milestone that matters. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a thing. And if you've been here from the beginning, you already know this is just the beginning of what 2026 has in store. Drop a comment below. What moment from Jimin's 2026 so far has stood out the most to you? Let's talk about it, because the conversation about ParkJimin is one that just keeps getting better.